Hello everyone, this is Mark Sargent, and we are doing Flat Earth Q&A emails number 20. You guys already know the drill by now. And oh yes, today is Careless secretary version, so she'll be reading the questions and I'll be answering with a glass of wine in hand. Say hi, secretary.
Hello, hello.
Well, there we go. First question, go!
First question is from Ray. Hi, I'm Ray, and I have to admit I was never a flat earth believer. I'm also a staunch believer that nobody ever went to the moon. Also, when there are videos of the International Space Station, why is the Earth behind them not rotating? But I'm definitely intrigued. However, I have to come to believe that your video was shared by someone else because every time you said the links are listed below, there was only a single link listed, which went to yet another YouTube channel. Also, it was one video. Could I get either your YouTube channel and link to part 1 of the series or an email with all of the links?
Yes, I can see there's a whole bunch of questions here. First off, all the descriptions in my YouTube channel were changed generically. I did whenever I change one, I change them all now because it was too hard to keep track of everything and I was making some global changes. But my official YouTube channel is Mark K. Sargent. That's MarkKSargent. Or you could just look up Flat Earth Clues, and you don't even have to look that up on YouTube, but that would definitely help. Anyway, sorry, continuing on.
But wait, there's more. Still not entirely convinced. I have questions like, A, why are there different moons and what causes the shadow on the moon?
All right, when it comes to shadows on the moon, that is just part of the display system. So anything you see up there, which is waxing or waning or blood moon or an eclipse, that's just part of the display system.
B, why is it that when commercial airlines that fly at their optimal or perhaps their maximum altitude, the people in the jets cannot see some evidence of a flat Earth? There are some truthers in those jets that are also trying to find the definitive answer.
That's a good point. And actually, from a flat Earth point of view, I disagree. And I say you absolutely can find evidence of the flat Earth. Meaning, I put a challenge out to people in mid-2015. I said, look, if you think you see the curvature of the Earth anyway from an airplane, you take a picture of it, you send it to me, and I will quit flat Earth forever. And yet, we don't see that whatsoever. In fact, but then I still see people that will email me and tell me or call me and say they've seen the curvature of the Earth from a mountain or even sea level without even realizing why it's called sea level. Anyway, moving on.
C. If the Earth is flat, what shape is the flat surface of the Earth? Round, square, rectangular? And if the Earth is flat, is the surface completely flat or is it slightly curved upwards?
Excellent question, and I can tell you're sort of new to this, but we're treating people that are listening to this maybe for the first time, kind of throwing some newbie questions. What shape is the flat surface of the Earth? Look up the azimuthal, AZIMUTHAL, equidistant map. That's probably the best one we got going. Or look at the UN flag. They're pretty much identical. But I still think there might be a square edge on the outside of it. The four corners of the Earth mentioned in the Bible, the angels holding back the four winds, very possible. Remember, if it is if it was built like a machine, and I don't care what sports stadium you're talking about here, what we think of as a sports stadium is still erected on a flat, square parcel of land. And to answer your second question, if the Earth is flat, is the surface completely flat or is it curved slightly upwards? That's a tough call. It could be curved slightly upwards at the edge. I don't know, to be sure. All I know is that it's 99% flat from what we can tell. We can't find any evidence of the curvature whatsoever.
And D, you say that God reset everything. I'm assuming you were referring to the flood. And then added in the moon later. My belief is that God created the moon before he ever created man. He created the moon within the first 6 days of creation. Keeping an open mind and hoping to hear from you soon, Ray.
Again, excellent question, Ray. Well, when it comes to creation, you got to remember, I can only refer to our civilization. There are old myths and legends which talk about, and I believe they are previous versions of this. We are not the first civilization to rent this apartment by any stretch. Who were the people that were tied to Atlantis? Who were tied to the sunken cities off of Japan or off of India? Who really built the pyramids? I'm saying if we are version 7 or 6 or 8 or whatever, in version 4, this place looked a lot different. And version 3 and version 2, I believe that in the early versions, all the continents were grouped together in the center. Look up Pangea, Pangea, which is the supercontinent. In the early versions, when they talked about that the moon wasn't in the sky and was added later, I think that's very, very possible. So I'm not knocking the 6 days of creation, not knocking that whole thing, but remember, 6 days might not necessarily mean 6 of our days. It could mean 6 of God days, and who knows how long each day is in God's terms, but that's a whole other topic for another time. Next question.
All right, next email is not really a question. Subject is interested in the FE model, which is a little confusing because it says, "Hi, I'm interested in buying a globe model with the stars, sun, and moon. Thanks, Brent."
Yes, there are some physical models out there, but the most prominent at this moment are being built by Chris Pontius, Pontius. Look that up on YouTube if you want, or you can email him directly. He is making physical models. Dome, it comes with a dome, but it's removable if you're not a big believer in the firmament. And you can email him at flattenit, FLATTINIT, at gmail.com and tell him Mark sent you. Next.
Okay, the next one's a doozy. There is an infinite amount of leaps of faith to your explanations that our planet is flat and the sun is 3,000 miles away. Wow, I need to know what you are ingesting. I ingest marijuana. What is your excuse? Let us look at the main statement that the Earth is flat. By extension, that means all planets are flat, correct?
Well, first off, I don't really ingest anything. Yes, I'm having a little glass of red wine at the moment, but I don't take any drugs on a regular basis. By extension, means all planets are flat, correct? No. I'm saying that the planets may not be there at all. That what you think of as Jupiter and Mars and Saturn are no different than when you go to a planetarium. When you go to a planetarium, they aren't spheres up in the sky, but necessarily they aren't flat either. They're more just projections. They're not even three-dimensional, and they're just a two-dimensional image. So that's what very possibly could be. Anyway, on with the rant.
Do not start with me that some supreme being that created this little ant farm called Earth is the reason our world is flat, but nobody else's world is. You've got to think to yourself, that is one pretty big if, and more ifs seem to be your only explanation to support your ridiculous hypothesis. If that is not the case, I cannot imagine how all of these planets became flat in a vacuum. Think about that. What force exists in a vacuum that would make gases, dust, and other material to collect in a flat and disc-like shape?
Well, okay. You're clinging on to the scientific belief that there is space. A lot of people ask me, is there space outside of this? Is there a solar system outside of this? Is our solar system even existing? No, there isn't. There is no vacuum out there. Oh yeah, the air may get thinner as you get up, and it may eventually approach a vacuum-like environment, but I think we are contained in a pressurized system, and that there is no vacuum out there. There's no the solar system like you think of, and all the planets do not exist. Moving on.
If there are no forces besides solar winds, what could possibly make material flatten in a vacuum?
You're not in a vacuum, so don't worry about it. Next.
Your assumption that there is a wall X amount of miles inland from the Antarctica coast because no one goes there is flawed in so many ways I cannot believe you have not already been institutionalized. Do you actually believe that all the airline companies in the world know not to fly over Antarctica because someone told them not to?
Not at all. As a matter of fact, the airlines know nothing. Pilots know nothing. If you ever in doubt of that, look up some of my testimony shows on YouTube channel Mark K. Sargent, and you'll find out that pilots don't know anything. But as it stands now, nobody's flying over Antarctica except for military. No one's allowed to go to Antarctica except for military. No corporation in the world, no matter how much money, how much bribing, how many palms you grease, are allowed to go to Antarctica. So I don't know what your problem is, man. But anyway, moving on.
Who told them not to? No one would want to make a bunch of money and tell the world that we've been lied to. Wouldn't someone on this flat planet want to come out with the truth? You, Mark, maybe have some other agenda to make gullible people buy your sensationalistic pile of drive.
Drivel.
What?
Drivel.
Drivel.
Sorry.
The sun's rays shine through our atmosphere. Hey, Mark, do you know what is in our atmosphere?
Yes, I do, actually. I know quite well what's in our atmosphere. It's 20% oxygen, 80% nitrogen. Now, I know you could take off a few points off of either one of those numbers and throw in some trace gases, but I don't care because it takes too long. Either way, it's kind of a soupy, foggy thing that looks clear to us, but the atmosphere can change on a dime, as you know, and get more opaque. But you probably already know that.
It is clear, odorless, and has a tendency to bend and refract light. I don't know what could possibly do such a thing. I do not know. Could it be Satan? Or maybe it could be something that is known as water vapor? Go to bed, man. Get up and get a job at your local McDonald's. You clearly have such diminished mental faculties. I am not sure they would hire you. I am currently on disability because I can no longer do manual labor, and because of the meds I take, I cannot think clearly enough to concentrate enough to perform mental tasks on a daily basis. Wow, dog, what is your excuse? In the future, try to understand that just because there are anomalies that exist in this world of ours, it does not mean that your outlandish explanations really deserve any consideration. I can only say, wow. Oh, and before you tell me about the NASA space program and that the Challenger astronauts are still alive, I cannot explain why that is. Just because 6 out of 7 people are still alive does not mean that the world is flat and that there is some freaking dome over our lovely flat planet. I would venture to say that the possibility of a dome existing over the planet is equally outlandish, as there is a supreme being that prohibits space travel. Unless, of course, all types and kinds of space debris can come through our flat plane's dome, but we are not allowed to exit through the dome? Wow, any other stipulations that I must believe in to accept your crazy ideas and so-called truths? That's the end.
I think you pretty much said it all, and since you have a hard time focusing with the meds you're currently taking, I do not recommend that you watch any more Flat Earth videos because it is going to seriously degrade your condition. As a matter of fact, if you continue watching Flat Earth videos, I will not be held responsible for the increased medications you will be forced to take. Next.
Mark, I recently came across the Google Lunar X Prize contest now ongoing. This looks like a serious competition with 5 well-funded players still in the running. I find it very interesting as they were offering $20 million to the first team to land on the moon, traverse it 500 meters, and film the event in HD, all with 2017 completion date. Should we be talking about this more in the FE community? Doug.
Yes, you are right, Doug. And I have talked about this. I talked about this on the show on Tuesday night. I talked about this in a hangout I was in today at Poncho Pete's channel. And I'm going to keep talking about it this year. It's going to be one of my favorite topics of the year, and that is Google has announced they are going to pay $20 million to the first rocket program that can land on the moon with a robot, travel at least 500 meters, and send back. Now, you may have a problem here because they said send back images and data. They didn't say any, and I looked at the wiki entry on this. You can look at it as well, and they didn't say anything about sending HD video. So, and they, of course, all these programs are piggybacking off of existing rocket programs like SpaceX, like Interorbital, one of the companies I interviewed in 2015 regarding the fake space program. And so they may be off the hook, and that is NASA's going to, doesn't really matter. Now, will any of these teams, there's 2 from America, 1 from Europe, 1 from Japan, and 1 from India. Will any of these 5 teams make it there in 2017? That's the thing. Will any of them make it? And when they get there, will they be able to shoot back video? I don't think they will. I think NASA will run the whole thing, and at least 2 of them will collapse. Maybe 2 of them. In fact, they may even turn it to like a mainstream. Wow, wouldn't that be something? If they turned it into a mainstream horse race to where 3 didn't make it, the only 2 that made it, one would be American, of course. The other would probably be maybe European. Yeah, I will be following this, and I hope you guys do too. Look up the Google Lunar X Prize. And this thing is going to be one of my favorite FE topics of the year, unless something bigger happens. Next.
All right. Was wondering if I could get your opinion. I'm willing to do almost anything to prove flat Earth. The only experiment I've done so far myself had me standing on the shore of Niagara on the lake viewing Toronto through a telescope 31 miles away. Not to my surprise, I was able to see just above the shoreline of Toronto, which, as you know, is impossible when NASA tells us that the drop should have been approximately 600 feet based on a 25K mile circumference globe. I even considered going to Argentina, one of the most southern parts of the globe, and launching a balloon. However, I see that some university kids have already done this. View looked the same, flat but nothing else different from what the others have shown from Canada or the US. I also asked Sea Shepherd if they would allow me to come aboard if I donated $5,000 for their cause, saving whales, and allow me to fly my drone at the most southern tip of their trip in Antarctica while chasing the Japanese whalers. However, my understanding is that drones are now illegal to fly in Antarctica.
That is true, by the way. Drones were made illegal in 2015. Go figure that, in Antarctica. They made a special rider there to where you cannot fly drones in Antarctica. They will not be held responsible for anything bad that happens. So, anyone that's thinking about taking a drone to Antarctica, not going to happen.
A lot of people say, who cares? Fly around, live your life. But it's bigger than that. Most flat earthier will tell you that as it changes your perspective on everything. It's kind of cool that we could get all the answers while alive, traveling just thousands of miles away, as opposed to when we die, if we get answers at all. I also looked into renting the laser surveyors. However, I learned that they are very limited in terms of distance, less than 1 mile. Any ideas on what I could do would be great. Although my gut tells me that this is probably lost cause since people won't believe it unless it smacks them in the face. Another annoying thing is when someone says, if this was true, the media would be talking about it. I always answer, chemtrails are sprayed in your face every day, yet the media doesn't cover it. What's your point? Take care, brother. Dave.
Thank you, Dave. A well thought out letter, and I believe that you've covered most of the bases within reason. Of course, if I had an unlimited amount of funds, what I would do is I would take one boat and one plane as close to the Antarctic shoreline as I could. The boat wouldn't even have to move. It would just stay in one spot, and the plane would either go left or right and follow the Antarctic coastline, ignoring GPS, as long as they could keep the Antarctic coastline in their side mirror. And within 15 hours, if you believe in mainstream science, that plane should come around and cross the boat again, if you believe mainstream science. Now, if we're right, then that plane will have to go refuel. No plane out there has that sort of range that you could go around the entire outer circumference of the flat Earth model. That would be what I would do if I had the money to do it. Even then, I think it'd be dicey because, it's fraught with danger, and I don't even think you can park a ship out there without the Antarctic Treaty kicking in, the Antarctic Defense Force, but that's a whole nother story for another time. What you've been doing, all the things you've mentioned so far, great. As far as the laser surveyors, yeah, you're absolutely right. Commercial lasers disperse. The beam widens at about 2 feet every mile. So you're not going to be able to do much there because Jaronism, look up, he did some tests on that, pretty much says it all. So, weather balloons, you could do one of those at night. Bob from Globebusters tried to do one. He's thinking about doing another one. You know what? Weather balloon. Launch it at night, anywhere in the world. Somewhere where there's not a lot of noise pollution from cities. That would probably be your cheapest bet. At this point, just make sure you have a way of tracking the module once the thing blows and you can find it again. Whatever happened to Bob's is super mysterious, but I won't get into that right now. Other than that, of course, the basic stuff, which is spread the word, do social events if you can, talk to people about it. Go on, as much social media as you can. Make your own videos. Express your creativity and tell people how you got into it. And show your enthusiasm. That's the biggest thing I think I'm going to promote this year to anyone. Show your enthusiasm. If you're enthusiastic about this whole concept, put yourself out there. There's enough people to back you that you may get laughed at first, but I believe that in the end you will help change the world. Anyway, so I'm rambling. Next.
All right. Has anyone ever asked this question? I have heard this from a few people that have had a near-death experience or have been taken to heaven and brought back. They say they saw the Earth as a globe. Henry Groover told of his experience when dying in an auto accident. He was taken up and was shown the planets and stars by God. He said he saw the Earth as a globe and made a point to say that the Earth was globe and not flat. Why wouldn't he see the Earth as it really is? I think I know the answer, but can you comment on this, Bruce?
Bruce, I have been asked this a few times. Not only just near-death experiences, but people who can do astral projection. And I believe they fall into the same category as pilots and other people, that it's right in front of their face. And if you're not looking for it, remember the conditioning. Since we are conditioned to see the globe, I think we are conditioned to see the globe in all aspects, even near-death experiences and even in astral projections. If your mind isn't open enough to see the real thing, you're not going to see it. So talk to somebody. I think we're going to find this out sooner rather than later. Anyone that has I would love to talk to a flat earther that has a near-death experience right now, because I already know there's some astral projection people out there that are seeing it as it is. Again, it's the conditioning. It's just breaking out of the conditioning. That's all we're talking about here. Because you want to see the globe, you want to see it so badly. It is the only thing we are conditioned when we are children. It's the only thing we debunk to children. That is what you want to see in all. I have people tell me that they see the curvature when they're standing at the beach. They want to see the curvature. Anyone has any doubts, look up conditioning on any Black Ops. How they train. I'll use the Star Trek reference. Star Trek Next Generation. Here's a movie or a television reference for you. Look up the one where Picard is taken by the Cardassians and he's tortured, and he's told, even though there's 4 lights up above him, he is asked time and time again, how many lights do you see? And every time he says 4, they beat the crap out of him. And they say, no, there's 5 lights. At the end, when he's rescued, the part that amazed Picard more than anything was that at the end, he actually started to see 5 lights. So break out of the conditioning, folks. Next.
Hi, Mark. A month ago, I heard of this flat earth teaching. Now I have watched many flat earth videos over the past month and went from a confident dismisser to a bewildered watcher to a calm, thankful student of the movement. I have a lingering question, though. Why, on a semi-cloudy day when the sun is setting and is very low in the sky, do we see the bottom of the clouds illuminate as if the sunlight is reflecting off the bottom side of the clouds? If the flat earth model is correct, the sun's circuit around the North Pole is probably uniformly at an elevation above all of the clouds. If the sun is above the clouds, even when it is at a great distance from the observer, at no point would the sun be at a lower elevation than the clouds, and therefore it would be impossible for the sun to illuminate the bottom of a cloud that it is high above. I would be most delighted if you could explain this observable quality of the sun and clouds. Mark.
Well, I will refer you to, because again, this is a radio program podcasty thing, and I'm not going to throw up images on the screen because there's lots of other people that have done fantastic work on the subject. Specifically the sun, I would refer you to 2 different channels. One would be DITRH, that's D as in David, I as in, I'm not going to use the military one too, but Indigo, T as in Tom, DITRH, down the R as in R, and then H is in hell, I guess. So, or look up that channel and look up Zeticism. I'm not going to spell that one. Zeticism.com, or just look up Jeffrey Grupp, Grupp, and they do some wonderful things on the sun and reflections of the firmament and optical refraction and vanishing point and optical lensing and atmospheric looming. All these great things. Look up those 2 channels specifically. Other than those, if you can't figure out from those 2 channels, Jaren's got some good stuff as well. And I'm sorry if I'm missing some of the others, but those are the ones I refer you to. The sun and the moon. I know people have been seeing and recording different things with the sun. I've seen some interesting videos where the clouds are in front and behind the sun, but it's at an altitude that's way too low to be possible. It's hard to say. Do we have all the answers for this thing? No, we don't. We create reasonable doubt in the globe. Remember, in the end, this is a court case. We go into the courtroom, and the globe has all the evidence in the world, supposedly. All we have to do is create reasonable doubt, and we do that very, very easily. Check out those 2 channels. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. Next.
Hi, Mark. I have watched your work since you began, and I cannot say enough about how good it is. There are knowledgeable people out there, granted, but you don't shirk, you don't deflect, and you don't ridicule, and you articulate your points clearly and succinctly while keeping individual views on certain aspects and accepting openly that you are far from the point of knowing it all.
Just so you know, flattery will get you places with me. Continue.
Can I just say, this isn't meant for your email readout section. Haha. Oops.
Ooh, wait, which part? Which part? The part that's coming?
I don't know.
Certain notion one day. I think he just meant. Oh, all right. Well, let's move on to the next one then.
Should we just skip this one?
Yeah, let's just skip that one. We didn't give anything away. I'll take it was a generic compliment. He didn't want me to read the lower part. I'm sorry I pasted that in there. Apologies.
I didn't read it, by the way.
No, apologies to my careless yet very observant secretary. Next, please. By the way, yeah, if you want me, just so you guys know, if you send me something, and I don't care if it's on Strange World, if you don't want me to read your name on air, put something in the frickin' title. Do not, because I only skim these things because I want to be genuinely surprised. I want to do the whole reaction things. That's so trendy. And so put it in the, don't read this part. Put some asterisks and exclamation points. If you don't put it in the title, put it in the first frickin' line. I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten where I've gotten halfway through the email. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, don't, and then a call comes in. And don't call the phone line if it's not show night. Also, I know the show line is open 24/7, but I only do the shows on Tuesday nights. So if you hear the show and it's not Tuesday nights, it means it's not live. And when you call, you're just going to go to voicemail. That being said, the Strange World phone number is 720-897-6111. What do we got next?
Hi, Mark. It's Costa. Thanks for answering my question last week regarding the curvature equation. By the way, your lovely secretary did an awesome job reading through those emails. Hey, that's me. I just saw your latest video regarding all the deletions from YouTube. Somebody's paying attention, don't you think?
I do think.
But the reason that I'm emailing you is to let you know that I'm supposed to get notifications every time you upload a video, and I have been in the past with no problems. This time I went on YouTube and I noticed your latest video, Strange World number 88, and I got curious as to why I did not get notified. Well, after going on your channel, I noticed the notification was not set. For some odd reason, it got disabled. Maybe in your next video, you might want to tell your subscribers to check that, just in case they got disabled as well. Anyways, that was just a heads up. I don't know, maybe somebody else brought this to your attention as well. Keep up the excellent work you're doing. You're absolutely right. I have the same feeling 2017 is going to be a weird year. Costa.
Yeah, you got a point there, and I should probably, I'm going to mention that. Well, I'll mention that now. And that is, if anyone is out there listening, if you're subscribed to me, make sure my notifications are set to whatever you originally set them to. It's hard to say with YouTube because it's at one point, if they didn't want Flat Earth to get out, all they'd have to do is make sure it wasn't recommended and not put an autoplay, obviously. But at the same time, they curbed the hit results. They almost cut them in half overnight on January 17th. And that was, they took it from 7 million down to 4 million. And right now it's wildly fluctuating between the two. And I've even seen, if you go to upload date, which shows the real number, which is 15 million, I've seen it fluctuate from 15 to 2, which doesn't make any sense. You really don't see that with any other topics. When it comes to my stuff, yeah, I've heard emails from, or I've seen videos from other people, Flat Earth assholes, of course, a prime example, where he says that people are being unsubscribed and things are disappearing. Double check your stuff. I don't know the reasoning behind things, and of course, some people are subscribed to so many channels that they're never going to check all the settings. So if you're subscribed to me, Mark K. Sargent, please double check everything and make sure that everything looks okay. I do try to check stuff on a regular basis. Most of the time I have to deal with copyright issues. Like for example, Tusk from Fleetwood Mac was just changed at the beginning of this year. Stepping Out by Joe Jackson was changed this year, so I can't use that one anymore. various little things. Schoolhouse Rock, quite a few tracks on that were reverted back to the original owners, and now I can't use those. So I'm trying to go with generic music, which is great because there's a lot of great musicians out there, and I've gotten some fantastic mashups from people. That being said, let's move on, shall we?
All right. Mark, I'm so sorry to bother you. I am currently tracking flight QF64 from Joburg to Sydney on planefinder.net. It hasn't disappeared yet, like I was expecting it to. But I noticed it's halfway through the flight, yet the timer says it's late. Sorry, it says it left almost 8 hours ago, but has 3 hours left. Surely that's not right. Sorry, I guess I just wanted to pick your marvelous brain. I'm only a few months into having my eyes opened and would just like to check this with you and see what your thoughts are, if you don't mind. Becca.
Well, Becca from UK. First off, for people who don't understand, Joburg means Johannesburg to Sydney, Australia on planefinder.net. She is following my Flat Earth Clues series, which talks about how, in fact, more specifically, I have a problem with that word specifically. I don't know what it is. My lips just don't form well on it. I'll work on that though. Clue 7 and Clue 9 talk about how flights are really weird going from anywhere to anywhere in the southern hemisphere, and in Clue 9 it talks about how the GPS system just drops planes off entirely and nobody can see the planes anymore. So in fact, 2 years later, after I made the Flat Earth Clues, now people are telling me that planefinder.net has updated their software to show some global curvature angles. They're kind of taking some of the stuff off Google Earth. And so if you see something unusual, yeah, everyone wants to go back to planefinder.net or FlightAware or Flight Tracker 24 or whatever else is out there. By all means, take a look and see if there's anything unusual. The one thing I've got to stress is when you see a plane on there, if you see it continuing 200, 300, 500 miles off the coastline in the southern hemisphere, but sometimes in the northern as well, it's got to be a big gap between island to island. If the plane doesn't disappear, see if you can still track the latitude and longitude, because it should go into approximated or estimated mode. So I don't know. As far as your question goes, it's very, very possible. Somebody follow up on this one and see what if they can duplicate what she's seeing. Johannesburg to Sydney, Australia on Planefinder. If they see something different than we saw last year. Anyway, moving on.
All right, Wesley about MythBusters. Hello, love your work and the flat Earth ideas. I also loved the MythBusters, but I recently saw an episode where Adam went up in a U-2 jet 50 miles and said he saw the curvature, and of course the camera seemed to show it. Have you seen this episode, and do you think they made him lie or included him, or... Thank you in advance for your time and response.
Yes, Wesley. Adam from MythBusters is lying through his ass. And there have been several people that have already done videos on this. For those of you who don't know, you can look up MythBusters, where he's giving a rare opportunity. Heck, I'd want to do it too. To go up in an American spy plane called the U-2. A little history on that. That was America's first real spy plane. It was a very, very wide-wing glider technology where it could fly using the thermals almost indefinitely, from what I'm told, with very, very little fuel. It was incredible what it could do, and it could take spy pictures. Well, we, of course, did not. This plane did not exist until one was shot down over the Soviet Union in the 60s. And then it was replaced. Well, it wasn't really replaced. We're still using them right now for different things. We don't throw away good spy stuff. It was replaced with the SR-71 Blackbird, and that plane went from inception to retirement without anybody knowing about it, and it was declassified. And remember, the Air Force general who was talking about this, and he was going, oh yeah, we're declassifying our spy plane. And people are going, what spy plane? Oh yeah, this one right here. It's really, really cool. We're showing it off to you, basically. And they said, what are you replacing with it? What are you going to replace it with? And he goes, oh, nothing. That'll be the last spy plane. And people are going, whatever. Yeah, now it's the Aurora project, and that's classified. We don't know. The Aurora's so fast that we can't even track. No one's even got a photograph of it. Anyway, back to Adam and the U-2. When he went up there, yes, he went out of his way to mention, you'll hear this in the dialogue, where he said he saw the beautiful curvature of the Earth. Now, If it was anybody else, I'd say he was delusional and he wanted to see the curvature of the Earth, or maybe it was the glass. But because it was MythBusters, I'd say he's deliberately just BSing you because of the episode they did where they were trying to debunk people that said that the moon landing didn't happen. MythBusters did a very extensive show where the very end culminated in them shooting a laser beam, a special laser beam from an observatory at the moon, supposedly bounced off the laser reflector and came back and registered on a laptop that was, on a computer sensor near the observatory. And, there's like, well, there it is. We bounced it off the moon. It proves it. They actually gave each other high fives at the end of that show. I wanted to shoot them both. And I don't mean a figure of speech. I know I really wanted to gun them down at the knees. And so, yeah, the U2 thing is a piece of crap.
You'd think that moon laser experiment would only actually work in a system where the moon is within the dome or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, if it was in an enclosed system, I could see them bouncing it off. Or how about some other problems? You're shooting a laser through our atmosphere, right? And you're getting a dispersal pattern. We're talking, even if it's a good laser, you're still going to get several feet, at least every 10 miles. We're talking about a couple 100,000 mile wide beam by the time it gets to the moon, if you believe this. And it's got complete power. And then once it bounces back, what's left? You've got so little energy hitting that thing that's coming back, and you can still, plus everything's moving, it's coming back through the atmosphere. You still can detect all that crap.
Because we have trouble shooting lasers across the ocean, just
a
few miles, right?
Yeah, 237,000 miles to the moon through atmosphere, but that's for me the big kicker is you're bouncing it off a reflector, and it's coming back, and like you're throwing a tennis ball against the wall, and it's coming. No. There's so little energy left, if you believe in mainstream science, there's no way you're getting any photons back from this sucker. And the point was MythBusters went way out of bounds to do this. And you go to the end, it's like, oh yeah, we proved those skeptics wrong. I'm going, you piece of crap. I want to get them in a room sometime. I'm sorry. I get this way when I have like 3 sips of wine. Anyway.
You haven't even had half a glass of wine.
Shut up.
Hey Mark, my name is Philip, near Pittsburgh. I came across one of your clues about a year and a half ago and was almost instantly hooked. I really appreciate what you do and thank you for showing us that it is okay to ask questions about everything. And if you get ridiculed in the process, you're most likely onto something. Keep up the good work. P.S. Could you please send me a copy of your survival guide?
Philip, yes, I will send you a copy of my survival guide. Thank you for the comments and the compliments. And you've noticed that we're wrapping up the show just a little bit earlier than normal, and that is because what I'm trying to do in Q&A is only read emails that have some sort of questions in them or something that's thought-provoking. I do get a lot of emails, and I still have a ton of emails I got to read, but a lot of them aren't questions. They're statements. I will throw out the spam, of course. I will throw out people that are, I left one in here tonight with the guy that was tearing into me. And I will, yeah, if you want to try to debunk me or you want to write a rude email, I may, actually, I don't read that many trolls. Don't feed the trolls. But I do try to at least show people that I'm not completely filtering everything out. And I don't get that many emails that are troll-based. I don't. So as far as the survival guide goes, yes, what he's referring to is something I mentioned in Strange World. Long before I got into Flat Earth, I made a free survival guide that was based on the Katrina hurricane disaster in New Orleans, United States, some years ago, and I made a website called urbansurvivalusa.com, and on it I gave away a free survival guide called Empty Shelves. If anyone wants it, I will send it to you. It's only 2 megs. Somebody shrunk it down for me. It's got some pictures, and it's about 100 pages long, and it's free, and it's designed more or less for Americans or anybody who didn't prepare for anything, and all they've got is the manual. It will kind of show you what to think about. And it doesn't have to deal with any specific disaster. It is, like meteors or zombies or some sort of virus. None of that. It just assumes there's going to be a long-term power outage that's basically indefinite. You don't know when the power is going to come back, and what do you do for you and your family. It's not a bad read. I try to inject it with humor, of course. but it's all tongue-in-cheek. I will send it to you. Just email me directly at msargent, that's MSARGENT 23 at comcast.net. That's about it. So I think
that's it for today, folks.
Indeed, Secretary. So with that, we'll say goodbye for now, and next time we'll get more email. Oh yeah, by the way, if you want me to read your email on air, again, email me at the same address, msargent23 at comcast.net. Try to keep them relatively, a page or under. People, if you write me a 3 or 4 page email, I will try to read as much as I can, but chances are I'm not going to read it on the air. It's just too long, and there's only so much time that I can allocate towards that. Anyway, thanks very much, guys. Talk to you later.
Bye.